So now it is time to clean up the rest of the base. So I started out using the wire wheel on the 4-inch grinder. That did okay. I hadn't really used much other than that and the drill with wire wheels for cleaning up before, so it was okay. I didn't know any better. Turns out, as I found later, wire wheel is not the best way to do this. It works, but a die grinder with pads is much better. I'm assuming that the same rust removal pads for a 4-inch grinder would also work. You can see how much stuff's coming off by how much I'm cleaning up off the floor. And that happened a bunch, so. I'm not sure if this was overall more or less messy than sandblasting would have been. I don't have a sandblaster, so that, kind of rules that out. I could have gotten one or had someone do it, but I tried it this way. And it, for the most part, worked okay. For where the die grinder was able to go, it did okay. I realized after, doing this other side, a little bit later, we'll see in a minute, the die grinder, it has limitations because of how you have to hold it, and it's, you have to hold it with two hands if you're doing anything correct, because it will jump and it will cause problems. But there you can see how much stuff comes off. And I'm going to have to clean the entire garage with stuff because I found residue all over the place, even way back in the back. Mostly because you can see my shirt blowing up behind me. I was overheating in the long sleeve shirt, so I had a fan blowing on my back. Well, that kept that managed to keep a lot of the dust in the air, and needless to say, it went everywhere. And even with the two fans with filters, I actually had to replace one of the filters or both of the filters with fresh ones, and they ended up black. I blew them out with the air hose, and they ended up getting covered again several times. So yeah, definitely check your filters, check how things are going. It's a very messy, dirty process. Here you can see I'm using the die grinder I got, the Milwaukee M12. That actually works really cool with those little pads. And as I found out later, it works with other nice little roloc discs as well. I was able to get in all the little places I needed to. And one of the other things that I realized after working on this inside is initially I was not sure if these pieces were welded together or if that was all cast in one piece. Those flat pieces are welded. They did a really good job with welding, but there's a lot of spatter on the inside. That's what while doing this work, I found and ended up, seeing and trying to clean up some of the weld spatter on the inside. Not that it matters a whole lot. It's on the inside, but I definitely, based on seeing all of that, they welded all these pieces together, which is cool. I mean, 1800s, 1900s, that's when they figured out the whole welding thing because they had electricity. So, yeah, that little die grinder, it works good. It goes through pads after a bit, but those are supposed to be consumables, so. But yeah, it works really good. I was able to get in all the corners and the flat areas, and eventually I get fed up with it, or I should say, I can't get to it as much as I want on the side here, so I put it up vertical, and then I'm able to get these other spots much better. One, because I have it open and can see with the outside light a little bit better. Those light bulb things only work so well because you have to be in the way. That's why I even resorted to flashlight to try and see what I was doing down in the holes. But I was able to get it all in there, which was cool. It took a while. This ended up being about 3 hours of footage. This is instead of 100% speed, this is 1400% speed. But yeah, it worked pretty good. It was over a number of days, but that's fine. I only had so long to work every day. That's why it's called a side project, I guess. And there I flipped it around, and I'm definitely enjoying the engine hoist. It's making this project possible with moving these things safely. I mean, I could have done it for some of these things without that, but this makes it much safer. Here I'm trying to figure out what other discs to try. Here's a 36 grit sanding pad, and boy, that works much better than that frangible purple disc, especially if you're taking the weld spatter off. I mean, granted, I still went through several of those, because there's a lot of stuff and it, chewed them up. But that took the weld spatter off much better than those frangible pads. But the frangible pads worked great on the paint and the rust sections, so that's why they sell different pads. But eventually I got all the little pieces and got actual sandpaper out for some of the corner bits and trying to get, just to make sure I got all the sections that I couldn't get to. And I tried with the drill and the wire wheel just to, go over it again. Again, trying to set up the lights. That light stand is annoying. That's why I was playing with it so much. It would not stay in the position that I needed it to be. But eventually I jammed it enough that it stayed, so. Here I'm just going over final little bits, make sure everything's all good, trying with sandpaper and other various pads. And cleaning it all up, and it's all good, and then back to the drill. This was a lot of cleanup. There's a lot of surface area. You wouldn't think, I mean, it is almost 4 feet wide and 16 inches tall, and a foot across side to side, or so, maybe a little bit more. But there's a lot of surface area there to go in, and it's not just all one flat thing, so it does take a lot of work. And there I was actually cleaning out the filters and fans just because they were a mess. Combination of leaf blower and air hose. Managed to get most of that. And I should have put, yeah. I started painting and then realized, oh wait, those are machine surfaces. I was going to tape those. So I suddenly had to go get my tape, go tape all the spots up that are supposed to be, metal on metal, not metal on paint. And then once I got that back up, I went back to doing the bare metal primer. And because I was spraying it up, I should have put a piece of something protective over top of the miter saw you see sitting there, because I noticed afterwards that was over. Had a bunch of stuff on it. That's why it's on there now. It's like, I don't want blue on it too. It was wipeable. The overspray was, if you press on it, it wipes off, but I didn't want blue on it as well. So here I'm doing the cobalt blue again. I ended up putting 2 coats of it on that side, and then 2 coats of it in this direction. I don't know if I filmed both coats in this direction. I might have. I mean, once you've seen one coat of paint, you've seen the other coat of paint. But I went over all of it. And here I'm going back to the silver and doing the lettering. And I must not have sprayed, I know there's more letters here than there was on the leg, but I must not have sprayed as much in because I ran out at some point. And I also had some of the paint. If you're doing this with spray paint on a brush, make sure to wipe off the brush before you just go right down on the letters, or there's enough paint in the brush that it will leak out all over like it did on that C. But that worked. Came out pretty cool. Well, the last piece of the base is done, and I think it came out pretty good. Considering I initially forgot to tape up the machine surfaces, and then realized while I was painting the primer, oh crap, I got to put that on. I put that on, seemed to work okay. I got the silver put on. Some of the letters, like the Y and the C, there are broken out, or I should say, didn't properly form in the casting, is probably more likely. Like some of the casting stuff didn't work, but with spray painting it came out alright. So yeah, I think that's going to work. I did notice that if you bang into this, or the blue and stuff doesn't necessarily stick to the cast iron or steel or whatever this is, as well as the original paint. It's done, this part. So now I have the 2 feet and this, and I also spray painted the bottom of the base white, just so there's some protection on the bottom there, because once this is on there, I'm never going to see the bottom again. So I can paint the top, but I can't paint the bottom. So I figured, since it's going to be right next to the floor, within an inch or so, that way if ever any water get on the cement and this rolls across it, no moisture will get up in the bottom of the plywood. It's probably going to be okay anyway, but I painted it regardless. So next, I have to figure out, one, where to put this, because this is my work area, as you've seen in the other videos, which is going to be annoying when I put the joiner there, but oh well. So I need to find somewhere to put that so it's not going to get messed up and covered in gunk when I clean off the rest of this stuff, because that black dust and everything gets everywhere. Hey, you can see there. That's the kind of stuff that comes off. That's just the spray paint from overspraying this when it was hanging. So that wipes off, but still, you don't want that all over the painted surfaces. So I may, it's skinny, I may try and shove it back in there somewhere. Or maybe if I do that one next, I can put this up on the bench or something. Or maybe I'll do that one next, since it's already right here and I just need to wheel this. I don't know. We'll see. Regardless, this part's done. The silver has to dry. And now I get to figure out which piece I'm going to try next.